Okay then, so the next step is to be able to add new chats or new messages down here whenever we type something in and then press send, because at the minute this doesn't work. We just get that default behavior of the page refreshing. So what we need to do is attach some kind of event listener over here. So when a user submits the form, either presses send or clicks enter, then it's going to take that value, then we're going to query the database and we're going to add a new document to the database. So let's come over to our app.js. First of all, this is where we're going to set up the event listener for the submit. So inside index, if we scroll up a little bit, we can see up here we have the new chat form, and this form is new chat. That is the class. So we're going to use that to grab this from the DOM. So in app.js, let's under DOM queries say const, and we'll call this new chat form and set it equal to documents.query selector, and we want the class new chat. That was the class of the form. Okay, so we have this form now. Now let's go about adding a new chat. So little comment, add a new chat. Then we'll get the new chat form and we're going to add an event listener to that. So add event listener, and the event listener is going to be for a submit event. And then we're going to fire a callback function which does take in the event parameter because we need to prevent the default action. So let's do that first of all. e.prevent default, like so. Okay, so now we have this event listener. What do we need to do? Well, the first step is to find out when a user submits what value they've typed in here. So to get that, we're going to say const message is equal to the new chat form. Then we want to get the input field inside that form. So if we go over to index again, we can see that the input field is here and it has an ID of message. So when we have an input field, remember, with either a name property or an ID property, we can use dot notation from the form to get that. So we can use dot message to get a reference to this thing right here. So new chat form dot message. Then we want the value from that input. So dot value, and then finally I'm going to use the trim method to take off any white space because we don't want to store that and we don't want to show that in the chat window. So now we have that message value. The next step is to actually add a message. So if we go to our chat class over here, up here we can see add chat. We want to call this method right here, and we pass in a message which is a string. Now inside this function it takes care of the rest of the object and the rest of the document, and that's the date that it creates or the timestamp right here, and the room because we have the current room stored inside the class instant. We also have the username stored, so the only thing we need to pass in is a string to this add chat method, which is the message we want to add. So back over here we can just call chatroom.add chat, and remember we can say chat room because that was the instance of this class that we created down here. Now it doesn't matter that this is below this because by the time a user actually submits a form, so types something into the field and submits it, all of the JavaScript has already run. So chat room already exists at this point. It's not like we're just trying to access chat room up here directly before an event occurs. So let us now say chatroom.addChat and pass in the message, which is this thing right here. So message. Now remember, this is an asynchronous function right here. So this returns a promise because asynchronous functions like this always return a promise. Now since it returns a promise, we can tack on a dot then method. I'm going to do that underneath, dot then, and inside we fire a callback function when this is complete. All I'm going to do is reset the form at this point because when a user types something in and we add that, we'd like to clear out the form field. So we'll take the form at this point once the chat has been added and then use the method dot reset to clear out that form field. We're also going to add on a catch method just in case there is any kind of error, which we'll take in as a parameter to the callback function. And inside this function we're just going to log that to the console. So console.log error. Okay, so that's pretty much all we need to do. So now when we type something in and press send, it's going to get that message that we type in, then it's going to call this add chat method on the chat room instance and pass in that message. In there, we're going to be creating this chat document based on that message. Then we're going to add this to the database by using the add method right here, which we already do. We add that chat and we return a response. Now, obviously, we're not doing anything with this response, but because this returns a promise right here, we're tacking on a then method, and once that action is complete, then we're resetting the form. Now remember, when something is added to the database, because we set up a listener, a real-time listener previously, when that change occurs and that document is added, it's going to recognize that right here, and it's going to fire this callback function. And remember, that callback function is over here. So then we're going to render that new chat to the DOM. So this is all kind of coming together now. The different pieces of the application are fitting together much like a jigsaw, and they're all working together in tandem. So let me save this now and come over here, and I'm just going to say fancy a game of Mario Kart and press enter. And now we see that right here, and the form also cleared. So now this is all working. So the next step is to hook up the functionality to this form so a user can update their name, because currently if I type in a name and then update it, it just refreshes the page again, which is the default behavior of web forms. So we're going to tackle that problem in the next lecture.